Well, man, it's my privilege and just to pastor this church. My name is Jeff, and I get the privilege of being a part of what God is doing here at Phos Community Church, and it is a good thing. It's really exciting, and today I scared our staff pretty bad. I was really late getting onto campus this morning, about 9:15 before I finally got here, before first service, and our staff, some of them were in the back hall, and they were looking at each other, said, "Have you heard from him?" And nobody had heard, and they know. I've told them, I said, if something happens to me and I don't show up, every one of them have a sermon in their back pocket. Like, you better be ready, because there's going to be a day when something could happen, so you better be ready. And Mike was on stage rehearsing, so he didn't know, but the rest of the crew was out there going, "Oh man, they were getting ready to draw straws," and they were going to cut it. They were going to cut a short one from Mike and pull it out. "Oh, Mike, you won!" And but we were dealing with our youngest family member, our little doggie, Alaska. He's a little white dog. She's fantastic, and she's probably the favorite family member for all of us, like the one we like the best. And Julie was taking her for a walk this morning and headed up the street, and one of our neighbor's dogs, who challenges Alaska all the time, broke through her containment and came, and they got in a big fight, and Alaska's kind of torn up. And how beautiful. Are you okay? Okay. Anyway, the dog got torn up, and so her husband didn't do such a good job with the news. It wasn't good how I first handled that. And anyway, I apologize for being a jerk. And so if she beats me later, then you guys can tell her he apologized in public, and it's good. But anyway, so I was a little scattered. Like, man, I got to get my brain and my heart together in this place, because I'm trying to deal with this dog and get out the door and get here and preach this message, which I'm excited about. I'm so excited about this message. I can't wait for you to hear this. It's really cool. So just pray for us. And our dog, you got her wrapped up, I heard. And yeah, all right. So
send my dog over to kick that dog's butt.
He said he could send his dog over to kick the other dog's butt for us. So it'd be good. So anyway, just that's a sidebar. That's really not newsworthy. It's just me. I'm just sharing with you as your pastor. This is what's going on in our life. But some of you guys pay attention to the news, right? And some of you are news watchers. Well, this week, a couple of cool things happened in the news. Number one, there were some physicists that were awarded the Nobel Peace Prize for Science for confirming the existence of a particle that had been theorized for over 50 years. This particle is the particle they believe holds the whole universe together. It's the cosmic glue that makes it all work. And it's called the Higgs boson. And it had been theorized for a long time, but because of the particle accelerator in Europe, they were able to actually see this particle for just a split second and realize, oh, it really is true. And some scientists have gone so far as to call the Higgs boson the God particle. It's the key. It's the thing that holds the whole universe together. We've known it's there for a long time. And in the book of Acts, Luke, the writer of the book of Acts, said this. He said, we live and move and have our being in God. You see, you being here today is a total miracle. Did you know that? Did you forget that today is a total miracle? That you have breath in your lungs, and that your body is held together, that you can hear these words, and all this is this magic thing that we kind of forget how good it is that what God has given us, and what a great mystery it is that life works the way it does. It's really cool, isn't it? And so this Higgs boson thing, this God particle thing, holds the whole universe together, holds you together, holds me together, and yet it's just miraculous that they could even see it. And you know what's interesting is the further we dive into science and the more we learn, the more it seems to confirm that there really was a designer who made all this. There really was somebody putting this all together. It's so well thought out. It is so intricate. It's so powerful. And so we start knowing that every treasure, even the breath in our lungs, which may be the greatest treasure of all, comes from Him, right? Everything we have comes from Him. It all comes from Him. It all goes back to Him. He treasures us. And He gives lavish gifts to us. You know, the love of a child. I don't know if you got to see from where you're sitting, the children ran here a while ago to sing with us. I love it when they come in. Just all the joy and the energy and the passion. But what a treasure they are, right? What a gift. And the love of a child. And when you love a child, there's nothing like that. The love of a dog. You love your dog. And you've got this treasure. But God gives you all these things that we take for granted. but they're all treasures that are priceless. We couldn't make any of those happen, could we? You can't make things happen that are the most precious to you. Someone sitting near you that you love, and that's a treasure. But you couldn't make that happen. You couldn't create that person, but God did. So we've got these huge treasures that God has given us. Everything comes from us. We're held together. We live and move and have our being in God. So that's where I want to start. That's the news you can use. Another piece of news comes out of India. In India, a few weeks ago, a holy man had a dream. And they have a different religious idea there, a different idea about how things work. And this guru guy has this dream, and I want to tell you a little bit about his dream and about what he had to say. You'll think you'll find this interesting. Here's the headline. India digs for treasure on tip from Hindu holy man who says late king appeared in dreams. Watch this. This is pretty cool. Archaeologists began digging for treasure beneath a 19th century fort in northern India on Friday after a popular Hindu holy man said a former king appeared to him in a dream and told him of a nearly $50 billion treasure. Wow, $50 billion. The treasure hunt began after the Hindu Swami, Sabham Sarkar, relayed his dream to an Indian government minister who was visiting the Swami's ashram last month. An ashram is kind of a center for worship. The Swami said the spirit of the king Rao Ram Bak Singh. That's a cool name, right? I mean, UK needs a player named that, Rao Ram Bak Singh, just so the announcers can say it. Can you hear the announcers now trying to say that one? It would be cool. That might be a better U of L player. I don't know. Rao Ram Bak Singh, who was hanged in 1858 after rising up against British colonial forces, told him this in a dream, by the way, to take care of the 1,000-ton treasure hidden under the late King's Fort in the northern state of Uttar Pradesh. Pretty cool, huh? And so now the government there, the Indian government, is digging up the treasure, but they're saying it's just for archaeological purposes. It's just, because, we want to preserve our heritage. Okay, great, whatever. But $50 billion, are you kidding me? Wow, let me ask you a question. If you got a tip some way, somehow, and you knew it was accurate, you knew that there was a treasure buried under a fort in India, and you're confident, there's a treasure there, and nobody else knows about it, but you were given this divine connection some way, you knew the treasure was there, would you sell everything you have here and go to India and quietly begin to dig up that treasure? Would you? She's like, yeah, are you kidding me? Like, of course. She's like, I'll go to India, I'll dig up the treasure, I'll come back and buy Kentucky. Okay? It'll all be good. I'll own the whole state, and it'll be good. So this, if you knew the value of that treasure, and if you could have access to it, you'd probably go dig it up, right? And you would sell what you have and go buy that piece of land if you could quietly do that. And man, it's pretty amazing. That's what India is trying to do, is trying to quietly dig up that $50 billion treasure if it's really there. Now, the reality is that the locals say that that's been a legend in that region for a long time. So whether it was a dream or whether it's a legend, I don't know. But it's interesting that they're starting to dig up that treasure because it's worth something. So a holy man in India tells us about a treasure. But I'm more concerned about a holy man from Bethlehem and what he said about treasure. And so I want to share with you today what the holy man from Bethlehem has to say about treasure and about how to have a treasure and how to find a treasure. Wouldn't you like to know how to be rich from Jesus Christ himself, the master creator, owner of the entire universe, the one who created the Higgs boson that holds it all together? Wouldn't you want to know how to be rich from him who owns everything? Wouldn't that be cool if you knew that news? How many of you guys would like to know that from Jesus Christ himself, how to be rich? Okay, I'm going to give you the tip today. Here you go. You better make notes. Sermon note cards that look like this. You can grab one of those out of the information you got as you came in and just follow along with me, and let's talk about this, how to be rich. And we're in a series called Stuff Jesus Said, and today we're going to talk about how to be rich. And this is from the holy man of Bethlehem, Jesus Christ. And this is what he has to say. Matthew 6:19 through 21, Jesus is saying this to his followers as he's teaching them one day. He says, "Do not lay up for yourselves treasures on earth where moth and rust destroy and where thieves break in and steal. But lay up for yourselves treasures in heaven where neither moth nor rust destroys and where thieves do not break in and steal. For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also." You see, our hearts follow our treasure. It's like our hearts are magnets and treasure is steel. And man, we are zeroed in on that, man. We are moving toward our treasure, whatever our treasure is. The principle here is that your heart follows your treasure. And Jesus just nailed us on that. And he said, that's what happens. Store up treasure in heaven where it doesn't rust and decay. Store it up in heaven. Now I want you to think about heaven for just a minute. Eternity lasts how long? For eternity. Like eternity lasts for eternity. Like infinity. It goes on and on and on and on and on. I want you to think about this. If you took $1 million and you could invest it in the bank of heaven, and 1,000,000 years from now, how much would that $1 million be worth if it earned 5% interest a year? A bunch. A whole lot, right? A whole lot. Well, Jesus is saying, listen, there's a way for you to store up treasures in heaven where moths and rust don't destroy it and where the government doesn't print more money and make it worthless. And it's like there's all these things that protect your wealth in heaven. It's a different space. It's a different way to invest. But we're not used to thinking about investing in heaven. Matter of fact, we're not even sure how to do it. Jesus said we should store up treasures in heaven. The big question is, well, how? How do we do that? So I want to share with you some ideas today that Jesus shared with us about how to invest in the bank of heaven. Wouldn't that be good news if you knew how to do that? If you could invest there. I think the number one thing it takes, according to Jesus, is we need to have trust in God. That we got to trust God more than we trust our stuff to get us through life. That our real resource, our real source in life is God himself, the Higgs boson, the one that holds it all together. That's our real source of treasure. It's not in us, it's in him. So our greatest treasure is in God. Matthew 6:33, Jesus said this, "Seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things will be added to you." So Jesus is saying the first thing we need to do is seek God's kingdom, not our own. You can seek his kingdom first because you can trust him to take care of you. Now, this is difficult news because if you have a kingdom agenda of your own, you've got your own agenda for your life and what you want to do with your time and your talent and your treasure, and you just want to own your own deal and you want to run your own show, Jesus is saying, listen, let me run your show. Let God run your show. Let me be your treasure. And you follow me first, and then all this other stuff is going to be added to you. Let me ask you a question. Do you believe that? And belief, the way the Bible sees belief, is not just something in your head, it's something you do. You see, belief, as it turns out, is an active faith. It's a trust. It's something we do. But to believe in the Bible is to take action on the belief. So let me ask it again. Do you believe that if you seek God's kingdom first, that all the other stuff will be added to you? If we looked into your life, would it appear that you are following Jesus first or something else first? And only you can truly answer that question. Only you really know where your treasure really is. But I promise you this, your heart is camped out near your treasure. So find out where your heart is, and what you spend the most time thinking about, working on, doing, is probably a pretty good indicator of where your treasure is. Where your money flows to the most, where your time flows to the most, that's probably where your treasure is. So I want you to think about that. And do you seek his agenda first because you trust him to take care of you? That's the first one, is trust God more than you trust yourself and more than you trust your treasure. Because at the end of the game, the things that matter most we're not in charge of. God is, right? The things that matter most are in the hands of God anyway. So you trust him and you seek him first. The second thing Jesus said, he said, trade up. He said, trade up. Don't insist on just hoarding this little trinkets and things here on earth, but trade up for a real treasure. And this is what he says at Matthew 13:44 through 46. The kingdom of heaven is like a treasure hidden in a field, or maybe under a fort in India, okay, which a man found and covered up. Then in his joy, he goes and sells all that he has and buys that field. Again, the kingdom of heaven is like a merchant in search of fine pearls, who on finding one pearl of great value went and sold all that he had and bought it. It's that when you recognize there's treasure in a space and a place, that you'll trade all your little stuff for the one big thing. And so Jesus is saying, when you recognize the value of the kingdom of heaven, of his work, and of what he's doing on the planet to save people and to make them right with God, when you understand the value and the purpose of this kingdom, you'll trade your little stuff for this big kingdom. That you'll let go of some smaller things to trade in for the bigger things of knowing Christ and of others knowing Christ and of the good news of Jesus Christ being spread from here to there to everywhere around the world, that you'll invest in that because that's how you store up treasure in heaven. A friend of mine who does pretty well financially asked me last month, he said, Jeff, do you think there will be different levels of reward in heaven? And honestly, I've never really thought about that. For me, it's always been like, man, I'm in heaven. That's pretty good. All right, if I die, I get to go to heaven. I said, that's pretty good. I'm okay with that. But Jesus does seem to indicate that there will be different levels of reward in heaven. That if we invest more and if we go harder after his kingdom here, that we'll be rewarded there. And I got to tell you something. 1,000,000 years is longer than the 80 or so years I might get here on earth. So if I have to choose between my bank account here and the bank account there, which one do you think I should invest in to be a smart investor? Would you rather have 30 or 40 years for your treasure to accrue in value, and then you got to leave it behind to somebody else who's going to fight over it? Or would you rather have a treasure that lasts forever and a treasure that accrues interest forever? Jesus seems to indicate that you can actually put treasure into the bank of heaven. Isn't that cool? Isn't that good news that you could do that? So he says in Matthew 6:20, he says, store up treasures in the bank of heaven because they last forever. I need to back up and share one principle with you from number 2. And that is, the real principle there is the power to seek God's kingdom comes from a proper perspective of the worth of that kingdom. If you understand the value of the kingdom of God and of what Jesus is doing, then you'll be willing to invest there because you understand this is a good investment. This makes sense for me to do. This makes sense for me to be a part of. This is what I want to do. And then the last thing. So first of all, we trust God enough to pursue his kingdom first. Second of all, we trade up. We trade our little trinkets for his great treasure. And then the third thing is that we invest in the kingdom of heaven. And Jesus says we should store it up in the bank of heaven. Now let me be real clear. And Courtney, just leave that screen there for just a moment. Let me be real clear about these ideas about how to invest. I'm going to give you some practical ways that you can invest. The first thing I'm going to ask you to do as a person who tracks with Phos Community Church, and by the way, if you're not part of Phos Community Church yet, you're just kind of checking things out, or if you're just not sure, and the next parts aren't really for you. This next bit of the message is for those of us who are part of Phos Community Church and who are tracking with Phos Community Church. So you're kind of looking in on a family meeting here for a little bit, and if that's where you find yourself, then just look in and don't feel obligated, compelled, guilted, pressured, nothing. This is just you watching me share some ideas with our family. Okay, so pray first of all. I want you to join me in praying that God's will is done at Phos Community Church. We always pray that, but especially now as we look at some possibilities in the future, I want you really to pray and to seek God's face. That's number one. Do that first and foremost, beyond anything else. That's the most important thing you can do, is to pray that God's will is done on his timing and his way. Okay, that's number one. Number two, I think you can continue to engage your world on mission at one degree. Wherever you live, work, move, that you continue to engage the world. Now, we gave out some little business cards last week that said something extra to show you that God loves you, and on the other side were some contact information for Phos Community Church. And I know that dozens of you took those this week and began to use those to bless people. You're praying for somebody. Hopefully what you're doing with 321, you're praying for 3 people that need to know Jesus. You're making an investment in 2 of their lives, and you're going to invite one of them between now and Thanksgiving. So we're asking you to do 3, 2, 1. I know that this week, according to Lee Kinley, she kind of messed up the whole drive-through line at McDonald's, paying for somebody's meal behind her with one of these cards. Yeah, it's really cool, except for it messed up the timer at McDonald's. I know they're trying to keep things moving. And she's like, I want to pay for the person's meal behind me. And the little girl at the counter's going, I got to get a manager. And so it creates this whole thing. And so may you mess up all kinds of drive-through lines in the weeks ahead, okay? Just go and bless people and love them and serve them. So I just want you to be we just need to be a body that blesses people, and that's on mission at one degree. That's first of all. We participate in God's kingdom every day wherever we go. So pray and then be a part of his kingdom on mission at one degree every day. Now, we have some of those cards available for you as you leave today if you want them. We just didn't have enough to give to the entire body again. So you can take some more of those if you want to and just bless people. Just love them and love them into the arms of God. Wouldn't that be cool to participate in God's mission that way? Hope you'll do that. Another thing you could do here at Phos Community Church is you can join the Dream Team. That's somebody that serves somewhere with us here in the body and then goes on mission with us. This is our best on-ramp for getting you involved and engaged in the life of Phos Community Church and helping you grow as a follower of Jesus, investing some time and talent, treasure into pursuing his agenda for your life. We offer these classes in Growth Track every Sunday afternoon from 12:45 to 2. Today, we're in our 201 class. You're welcome to stick around and go through that class with us. You're going to learn a lot about spiritual disciplines today and how to advance your relationship with Christ personally. I highly recommend that you come to the class. Even if you didn't plan to, we have lunch ready for you. We have childcare. We have everything you need just to stick around, feed your kids, put them in childcare, come to the class. You'll be glad you did, I promise. And we're going to run this series, the Growth Track series, through the month of November. And then we'll take off in December. We'll come back in January with that, so you know. But I'd love for you to join the Dream Team by coming through Growth Track and doing that. And then another thing you can do around here is to invest to make disciples who make disciples here at Phos Community Church. Our goal line is disciples who make disciples, people who follow Jesus, who tell other people about how to follow Jesus, who live those kinds of authentic, adventurous lives with Christ, that we begin to help other people become exactly who Jesus called them to be. And then to help other people become exactly who Jesus called them to be. That's our core mission. And everything about us strategically is built around that mission, about getting that ball across that goal line. Everything we do. And so in this space, in this place here at Phos Community Church, this today, our weekend services are part of that strategy. Growth Track's part of that strategy. Small groups are part of that strategy. Going on mission adventures is part of that strategy. Joining the Dream Team, part of the strategy of growing you up as a follower of Jesus Christ. And then becoming a person who helps other people follow Jesus. Make sense? Now that's the core mission, the core ministries of Phos Community Church. And I'm really excited about what God has done in this space, here in this building. And I'm super excited of how you have transformed this space in here. You've made it a great space to be in. Inside Phos Community Church, inside 4200, inside this metal building, I'm really pleased with what's taken place here and how you've renovated it. So give it up for yourselves. Thank you so much for doing that. I love how you've done it, and I think it's warm and inviting. It creates a warm atmosphere. I want to talk to you a minute about what we might do next. I'm going to call this 4200 Phase 2. Now, let me remind you that we call this campus, this 10 acres in this building that this place sits on, 4200. I do that on purpose. I don't call this building the church because it's not the church. You and I, we're the church. Get it? We're the church. We get together here and we huddle up and we call the play and we figure out what we're going to do and what God's doing next, and we go out in the community and execute that play. This is a great place to huddle. It's a great place to meet with people. It's a great place to have Bible studies and small groups, and we want it to grow and want to expand in that. We really want this campus, inside and out, to work as what we would call a third space. Now, in our lives today, we have home, we have work, and then we have places where we need to connect. Starbucks has really capitalized on the concept of third space, of being a place where you would go pay $4 for a cup of coffee. Are you kidding me? It's not about that. It's about a space to connect with somebody else. Third space. Now, we've designed our cafe over here, and even this space in here, we've tried to, as much as we can, make this a third space where it's easy to connect with somebody else and to feel loved and encouraged and built up. Make sense? So we built around a third space concept. We want to make the outside of 4200, outside of this metal building, as inviting as the inside is. I would like to see us do that. But before we don't go to another screen yet, Courtney, just leave it on this. But we want to make the outside a third space place. So let me just share with you some of the ideas of what we might do next. But I'm going to put some parameters around what I'm going to tell you. I don't think we have to do this. I don't think that God did not give me some grand revelation and say, Jeff, you have to do that. So don't hear this as something I'm telling you we have to do. There are some things I feel like we have to do. This is not one of them. I think this is a good thing to do, and I do believe that God is in this next step. But you'll have to decide and pray to see if you believe that God is in this next step. But we want the outside to be a third space place, just like the inside is. So when a person comes onto our campus, that they actually begin to feel like they're in a place of worship right away. Does that make sense? So we want to take the assets that we have here, this building, the gravel parking lot, all the things that are cool about this place that were a great investment. We want to multiply our investment now. We want to work with this investment, and we want to make it better and more appealing to those who you're going to invite to come and be a part of what's going on here. I want to make sure I cover everything I'm supposed to here. I really think, guys, that our work here is just getting done, and 4,200 is an important part of that. Now, let me share with you some other things about the space outside, about what we want to address the outside of this building, and we want to do it in such a way that every dime that we spend is money spent going forward. I don't want us to spend a dime and then 2 years from now dig it up and have to reverse 9 cents of it. Does that make sense? We want to take every asset we have here, from the gravel outside to the landscaping, everything. We want to move it forward so that a few years from now, when we have to change the campus again, and we will have to change the campus again. One of the things that's going on, and you may not know what's sitting here, but we are running out of space for our children and teenagers already. We're done. We're pretty well maxed in this building. Did you know that? We have to address these issues, and that's going to come sooner rather than later. So you just need to kind of prepare mentally for that and spiritually for that, and just know that as Phos Community Church grows, we owe it to people that are coming to make this as great a space for them as it's been for us, right? So I just want to invite you to think about that. So part of what we're going to do in the phase 2 is we hope to just basically get a lot of green space all the way around this building. With the green space, later we can upgrade that green space to whatever we need it to be. We have a team of really smart people. The best brains that I know of about land and buildings have studied this, and they believe this campus, this 10 acres, can hold us into our future and can grow us into our future. And we'll begin to launch some other campuses and do some other things eventually. But this is a great place for us to plant our feet and to grow from. But the next thing to do with this metal building is basically get a lot of green space around it, so that when we get ready to do our next building, we can either add on to this building, or we can go backwards, we can go frontwards, we can go sideways with just having green space. We don't want to build a lot of stuff on top of this building yet, because we're not sure exactly what it needs to look like. Does that make sense? We want every dime to go forward, nothing to go backwards. So let me share that with you. Green space, think green space around the building, and that will get us going. All right? So with all that said, I want to show you what the building looks like right now. Okay? This is our existing space. Working with an architect, he took this picture, sent it to me. It was a helpful picture because I kind of forgot what it looks like. Because I just drive in here, and I'm here, and I love y'all, and I'm happy to be inside. So I don't even see the outside anymore. Probably you don't either. But as a newcomer coming onto campus, what do you think they're seeing? What? I remember one of our friends when she first got here from the outside. She was sitting in the parking lot. She said to herself, "I don't know what I've gotten into. I'm not sure what this is or what this is about." And worst case, at that point, we were tearing up the space. We had lights, like fluorescent fixtures hanging all over the place just by one wire and stuff, and it looked like we'd just taken a bomb and just dropped it in here. And it was amazing that you're still here. But you're still here. God used it. So here's the deal. Again, I'm not saying we have to do this. I'm saying it's probably a good idea to do this. The architect then, before you go to the next screen, let me say this. This is an idea. This is an idea. This is not the final project. Our 4,200 team, this 4,200 Tiger team, these really smart guys are going to take this drawing. They're going to work with it. They're going to make it better and make it fit better with our plan. So kind of hold the concept loosely, but this will still help you see what might be able to happen. Make sense? Okay, so let's take a look at this. Is that better? Give it up if you think that's better. I think it's better. Now let's look at them together. All right. Pretty amazing, huh? Now, the nice thing about this is, with a plan like this, we're taking every asset that's already here. We're just we're multiplying the investment. We're not going backwards and doing a plan like this. We're not tearing this space up. We're using the space and now building on it to add to our investment and to grow the investment, to work with it. All right. So lots of green space. You'll notice this canopy area is really long. I imagine this a little bit differently. We actually want a space where you can drive through and drop off. So there'll be some things that we'll need to fix about this, but they got us down the path. And so this is interesting, and it might look something kind of like that. Although I will tell you this, we may not do we may only paint the outside of this building. Again, it's going to be after the team meets and decides what's the best way for our dollars to go forward and to be an investment we don't have to dig up later or change later. Make sense? We want to just make sure that it's what it needs to be. But it will look similar to this. We'll get a great big timber cross out there, similar to what's over here to my right and your left outside, where you know right when you come on campus what this is about. You can see it. All right, now let's go to the next one. Now, this is what I didn't do last week. I'm going to take some time with this. I have a parking lot sitting over to my right, over to your left, where you probably parked. And it's a great big space with lots of gravel, over a foot of gravel out there that's worth a whole lot of money. We're going to take every bit of that gravel and that parking lot. We're going to cut it down. We're going to move it to where it'll be right out the front doors. When you walk out the front doors, you'll walk under the canopy out into a parking lot that we want to pave. Wouldn't that be good? Yeah, you give it up. If you've ever come in here on a muddy day, I mean, you change shoes before you get here, don't you? Like if you're a guest and you show up with good shoes on and it's been muddy, you're just like, oh boy. Or if you just washed your car. Now again, for you as followers of Jesus, you don't care. And I appreciate that. You don't care. Thanks for being that kind of people. But some of our guests might care. And so getting some of this done is important. The price point to move this around and do what we want to do, and that would basically, the price point I'm going to share with you is from the canopy out to the parking lot. It does include getting this all red in here. $110,000, $120,000, we think. Now some stars have to align, and we've got to do some more work, and that's getting a lot of volunteer labor in here, and us working together as a team and doing that makes sense. So if we get to pull our wagons together, we work hard together, we can do this, we can make it great. So you see this red space here, and that up at the top, you'll see another red deal. That's a pavilion we hope to put up near the road up here that would look out over this great big green field where children can play. This community always needs more green space for kids to play and to come and for even our teenagers and whatnot to play. Wouldn't that be cool to have a nice big green level field out there? And then to have that pavilion where families could gather, or you could come and watch your children play and do those sorts of things. That's what we want to get done. Okay? And we want to move this around. Now, this right here, that right there, that yellow thing right there, do you know what that is? Yeah. Mert, come here just a minute. You stand up here, please. This is our matriarch. This is Mert. That's Mert's parking spot. Yeah. So we want, and Mert needs a parking spot closer. We have so many people that, man, we want them to be able to get in and out of here more easily than they do right now, don't we? We can do better than we've done. And I appreciate what we've done so far, but we can build on what we've done and we can make it better. So that's Mert's parking spot right there. My parking spot will be down in the back corner. I'll park as far away as I need to make space for our guests to come, wouldn't you? So those of us who are here, man, when we get that parking spot, I want you to park in the back and let our guests park up front. And we want you to have a better way to get in and out of here.
And I'll park there till I can crawl in.
Okay. And she's been awesome. Yeah. And so that's what we're trying to get done. That's what's going on. Now, here's the way it works. The way our bylaws are set up, we have to have 25% of the project cost in the bank. Got to have it. It's non-negotiable. So we got to put some money in the bank between now and when we start the project. Now, I'm going to do the good, better, best thing. This is the Sears Roebuck thing, back to the throwback day. We need at least $30,000 in the bank above our operating costs, by the way, to start. See, here's the deal. If you rob from the operating expenses of the church what it takes for us to run our core mission, then we actually go backwards and not forwards. Make sense? So I'm asking you to consider giving above what you already give in order for this to happen. That's the only way it works. If we dig into what we're already trying to do, it's going to hurt the core mission, and that's not going to work at all. So we've got to protect the core mission and build on that and invest on top of that. And again, there's no pressure here. This is simply you decide what you want to do. Now, the good thing is we need $30,000 in the bank above operating cost. The better thing would be to get more than $30,000 and to really crank it up. And the best thing, you know what the best thing would be? Raise it all, have the cash on hand, and just start the project. That would be the absolute best thing we could do. Wouldn't that be exciting? And if everything goes really well, you have to go really well. Everything has to be spotless, and I don't know if it will be or not, but maybe, it would be a stretch, maybe by Easter of 2014, when we have a lot of new guests coming, that they could come onto a new campus and it would be totally renovated and updated. Wouldn't that be cool? Yeah, you can give it up. That's good. Now here's what I know. Some of you could write the $30,000 check and you wouldn't miss it. And that's good, and I'm grateful. And some of you, if you wrote a $30 check, it would be all you could do. And you know what? According to Jesus, it's not the amount, it's the sacrifice. It's the sacrifice. You do what you can if you feel led. You do what you can if you feel led. And if you don't feel led, I'm not going to guilt you. I will love you the same way as I do right now. I will still be excited to be your pastor, whether we do this or not. Now, there's a right way to do this, and the right way to do this, according to church experts, is for me to gather a team, and we have fundraising meetings, and then I come and sit down with all of you who could give a lot of money, and I take you to dinner, and I talk to you, and I smooze you, and I get you to open up your pocketbook, and I basically sell you on this, and I get you to just give me great big gobs of cash. I still want you to give great big gobs of cash, okay? But here's the deal. I'm not having dinner with you to do that. I'm sitting here as your pastor, and I'm saying, okay, here's the deal. You pray. You see if God leads you. And if he leads you to give above and beyond, then you give above and beyond. If he doesn't, then don't. It's pretty simple, huh? So that's my smooze talk right there. You just got it. That's it. You see if God is in it in your heart. And if he is, then you do it. And if he's not, and you don't feel like he is, then don't. It's pretty simple. Because I love you the same either way. I'll be excited to be your pastor either way. Our core mission will go forward either way. But I think we can go forward better if we do something with the outside of this building. Okay, so here's how this works. That if you feel led to give, then simply mark your gifts as Phase 2 fund. The Phase 2 fund. Just to keep it real simple. Not going to be elaborate. And it's just simple. Phase 2 fund. You mark your gifts. We'll take those gifts to the end of this year. We'll take them beyond that, obviously. But at the end of this year, we'll kind of tally up. On December 31st, we'll tally up. And the first Sunday in January, we'll come in and announce what we've done. And we'll know then whether we can start on this or not. Is that fair? That gives you time to think and pray and check your finances and consider what God is calling you to do, if anything. So that's my spiel. Now, family, let me go ahead and tell you, you'll hear this another time or two, because at Phos Community, we have this really cool thing that you all agree to do, and I'm so excited, that everybody agrees not to come on the same Sunday. Okay? So it takes us about 3 or 4 Sundays to get everybody through here that actually hears. Yeah, it's really a nice thing you guys are doing. Thank you for doing that. Otherwise, we would fill up both services and have to do a third service, and we'd fill up all 3 of them if everybody came on the same Sunday. So, but if you ever want to do that, I would be okay with that too. Okay, so that would be all right if you all decided, if everybody said, I'm coming, all of us are coming on the same Sunday. That would be awesome, and it'd be really fun. But for now, I've got to say kind of the same thing several times, so don't wear out with me, and please be patient as I need to share this several times for everybody to be on the same page. All right? So here's the principle. Jesus said, wherever your treasure is, that's where your heart's going to be. And that we should take our treasures and invest them in heaven where they accrue forever, or where they gain interest forever, because that's where we're going to spend eternity with him. Let's pray.